What's up, YouTube? It is Kevin. Welcome to Tesla Today. Got just a couple of things for you today. We'll keep it short. It's being Sunday. We're going to talk also about the S&P 500 inclusion with decision of that committee coming tomorrow after the close around 5:30 Eastern time or something like that. Hey, plus, I just got done watching the entire 110-minute video between Dave Lee on investing in Emmett Peppers, who has a $2.7 million options bet that he's hoping to go 20x over the S&P 500. I cut it all the way down to a short 10 minutes for you with all the highlights.
So Tesla has skyrocketed. I think it closed at 585 or so.
Yep.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's crazy. And your trade, right? Your $2.7 million trade has gone up. Is it probably a 4x or almost over
I think
four?
it's 4 or 5x now. Yeah. Crazy how fast it's gone up. A tweet out there going into the weekend. It's been my most popular tweet I've ever put out. So I can't imagine that many Tesla bulls selling on the eve of this historic quarter and 2021 guidance, which will be historic, and these new factories coming out and Cybertruck then, just so many great things coming. And I just can't imagine them all selling to the index funds. And that's not even counting the benchmark funds that want to buy now. So I felt like the conviction is still there.
I'm putting this tweet up on the screen right now. It's Gary Black says, I hate to throw cold water on what's been a great party, but the big risk is traders buying up Tesla shares hoping to flip them to indexers. When Tesla joins S&P 500 on December 21st, they buy too many. Indexers only need 120 million shares, 16% of the float, but Tesla's up 43% in 2 weeks. Caution advised. And you said it could be a risk, but I mean, what's your take on kind of this risk of traders buying up too many shares, right, and flipping them to the indexer? So around the inclusion day, it starts to go down.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a risk. That's the main risk here. And but I still can't fathom 120 million plus shares of that. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's like $70 billion worth right now. I mean, that's a lot of speculators, to add up to
Hmm.
do that. And it's possible, but for every, I think almost, if you had two speculators bidding the price up further right now, ready to sell, well, then you'd have, if they were selling, you'd probably still have another one or two speculators ready to get back in on a dip, and so it would almost net itself out, I think, to some degree, even if that was a huge factor. So, I think this early price movement is a great indication of what's to come.
Tesla possibly going to do a cap raise, like a stock offering, to take advantage of this like kind of high price. Like Elon Musk even like replied to someone saying, "Wow," with the stock price.
Remember, this is what Elon tweeted earlier this year when the stock price went up to like $800 or $900 a share. He said, "Hey, I believe it's too high in my opinion." The stock immediately fell more than what? It's $100 something a share, and then recovered within 48 hours. It's crazy tweets.
And
Hmm.
so he's kind of like, "Whoa, this is pretty high." So will Elon pull a move and tell his, IR
Yeah.
team and finance team says, "Hey, I want to raise some money," and then will that just kind of pull the air out of this move? Will people just like
Yeah.
take a step back? Like, is that a risk? And what are you thinking about that?
It's possible, but I think it's unlikely. I think they raised 5 billion in September, early September, around the time maybe they thought that the S&P was going to announce inclusion, and maybe they had that in the works to raise this, and then maybe they didn't get indication. They're just like, "I'm just going to raise it anyway." Who
Hmm.
knows what that was? No, they
Yeah,
never even fully explained why they raised it, right? I think it might
yeah.
have had something to do with their expectation of S&P inclusion, but that never happened. So maybe Elon's bitter, or maybe not. Maybe that was for some other reason they just never disclosed, right? But also, I think you and I both agree they have enough cash on hand to.
So they already did the $5 billion cap raise. Could they do it again? Possibility, but Emmett thinks no.
Even if they do a raise, like what are they going to raise? 50 billion? They might raise like 5 billion again, but that's just like 10% or less than that of what, it's still not going to put a dent in the amount the whole index would. What I think a lot of people don't seem to get, even after we talked last time about it, and I know a lot of people watch that, still so many people don't get that this is a different kind of catalyst, right? This is a catalyst for the share price, not for sentiment of the company. I mean, sure, there's a sentiment of the company catalyst here. S&P inclusion, it's great. It's a new era, but this is an actual share price catalyst. Like 120 million shares plus have to be bought, like taken out of circulation, some people say, which is, the right way to think of it. So this isn't just like a sentiment change, like, oh, great quarter deliveries, oh, Battery Day is amazing in the future. And then people speculate on that. Institutions speculate on that. Retail people speculate on that, buying more. This is not that. This is orders from the S&P committee that Tesla is in the index, and it's going to have a 1.3% weighting or whatever it is, which means, 60 or 70 billion at this current level has to be bought, which is a lot of money of Tesla. And the market cap being, what is it, 510 billion or something now? Is that about right? Something like that. So
maybe higher, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And I see some people throwing numbers around like, oh, 50 billion has to be bought. That means this market cap might go up to 560 billion instead of 5. That's not true at all. Like the liquidity is not there. Like people don't want to sell. Like talk about Bitcoin, for example, right? That's market cap is 250 billion or something, or 300 billion maybe.
300 something, yeah.
Yeah. And if someone comes in with 1 billion sell order, that's going to tank the Bitcoin price real fast to like a 200 billion market cap suddenly, So it's going to take out 100 billion of market cap valuation real quickly just for like a 1 or 2 billion sell order of Bitcoin, in my opinion, because it's not as liquid. So many people own the Bitcoin, but they're not offering it up to sell at any given time, right? So I think something similar is going to happen with Tesla here with this squeeze potential where so many funds have to buy it, and there's just not liquidity to sell. And yeah, you have market makers and some proprietary desks of investment banks or special, situation hedge fund strategies trying to do something to provide liquidity to make money on it somehow. But it's just going to mark the price up faster and faster, I think, as we go higher.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah, I think, is it Monday that the S&P 500 announces like if they're gonna have one tranche or two tranches for the inclusion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. End of day, I think Monday is supposed. That'll be interesting to see how the market reacts to that and the next day and what they announce.
Yeah.
But that's also a tell is, they get to cover their butts. If the market is going to go up so much, then they can say, well, we got investment advice to do it this way. And what if we did it another way? It might not have been such a problem for the share price going up, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
my thing is like, it seems like the S&P 500 kind of like, I don't know what they were thinking, giving like traders all this opportunity just to, bid up the price. So indexers have to pay this like more inflated price. It's like, what are they thinking? It's just like, yeah, if you give them maybe a shorter period of time, then the traders don't have enough time, perhaps, indexers buy it. But now it's like the index funds are at a disadvantage in a sense. They have to buy at whatever price, but at an inflated price because the S&P 500 gave like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even more, whatever, to bid up the price. It's kind of crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's a historic thing, right? It's just, I think there'll be case studies written about Tesla and this particular S&P inclusion for ages to come. Yeah. Most people don't beat the market, right? Why is that, right? And most people can't beat the market, and I think they just can't figure out what's true and what's not. Yet they create these interesting ideas that people somehow gravitate towards. And yeah, I mean, I think there was people that sort of thought that the S&P 500 was going to be big. No one seemed to really be strongly predicting it was going to be a huge run up to like 700 plus. People thought like, 15% rise, great. That would go to like 550 maybe or something, But I just thought like this is, based on the supply and demand of the shares out there. And I've seen some people on Twitter in the past, like, I think I mentioned them in some of my tweets, Frank Peeling and Tesla Truth and this other guy, Reflex Funds, those guys have all put out, and there's a lot of Tesla Motors Club forum people. And when I read all those people's proposals, like I'm not researching it myself necessarily. One time I said like, what I believe is it's not necessarily good to be the smartest person in the room on a niche. Like you want to be able to identify who the smartest people are in the room, right? And so you got to listen to a lot of different people and be able to figure out who's really the smartest in the room on a particular topic. And so on the particular topic of S&P 500 inclusion, I feel like I've seen a whole bunch of different research theses on it, and I've been able to figure out what I think is the most accurate. They're not my ideas, they're just ideas I see from other people that I think is most accurate, and I've put it together, and I just felt by synthesizing all of it, that it made the most sense that there's just a big supply and demand imbalance, and the shares are just going to skyrocket, when the S&P inclusion happens. And so we've been waiting for that for a year, like you and I, we've talked about it back and forth, and we've seen people put out research notes on it. And the research notes that are so bullish on it just make the most sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I try to counter that with my own, enthusiasm for Tesla, but I just don't see how they're not true. I just can't poke holes in them enough to where they're not true. Like, there can't be that many speculators. Tesla is a ginormous market cap company now. It's like even more true now that Tesla has gone to the meteoric rise it's gotten since the split, So anyway, that's sort of how I've put it together. And I just felt most conviction not to put the 5 or 10% of my equity into that bet.
Yeah, definitely. I have some.
Yeah. I mean, I could be very lucky, time will tell, or, I could continue to be very lucky and time won't tell. Right. But the longer I have success, the less likely that's the case, in my opinion.
In some ways, I think your LLC started at the beginning of the year, was 100,000 you put into it.
Yeah.
And you grew it to what, 8 million or something, or?
It's actually 11 million.
11 million. Okay. So 100,000 to, let's say, 10 million, just for the sake of rounding it. So, and
if Tesla was a zero, it would still be 2.5 million. Even if Tesla was a zero, the whole, that's the majority, my highest conviction name, the majority of it.
Yeah.
Now, but it's still done very well.
Yeah. You did, but to do 100x in 1 year, that's out of the world.
Hey, Tesla's now a blue chip stock. What is that, and what does it mean for investors? Well, according to Investopedia, what blue chip means is simply this. The term blue chip originates with the game of high-stakes poker. In poker, gambling chips represent different dollar values, and basically the blue chip is the highest value at the table. This term was thus taken from the poker world and put to use as a stock market terminology. Fun little fact there. So in the investment world, a blue chip company is a well-known, well-established, and well-capitalized. Such a company is considered to be a leading company in its sector and produces dominant goods or services. Blue chip companies are usually better prepared to survive during economic downturns due to their consistent revenues and stable growth over time. They are often household names known to the general public rather than just investors or enthusiasts. That is the definition of a blue chip stock. Some of the current well-known blue chip stocks are Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Walt Disney, Facebook, and Berkshire Hathaway, owned by Warren Buffett, which that is where Tesla is going to be inputted, between Facebook and Berkshire Hathaway, followed by Visa and Johnson & Johnson. Last but not least, from Goldman Sachs, on Tesla's S&P 500 entry could spark an $8 billion buying spree. Goldman Sachs, which has reportedly made $100 million of Tesla trades this year. That's not too impressive. I'm only one person, and I've done $1 million this year. Anyways, they go on to say that they were able to capitalize on all the volatility throughout Tesla trading this year, and they believe that an $8 billion buying spree is going to happen now that Tesla is being added to the S&P 500. Investments Bank 189 large cap funds tracked. Only 157 of those have 500 billion assets under management. Did not hold any Tesla stock at the beginning of the fourth quarter. That means a lot of buying has to be done for this benchmark being weighted into the S&P right above Berkshire Hathaway, called Tesla. Of course, Adam Jonas, who's typically been a bear on Tesla, has finally turned into a semi-bull, we'll call him, emphasizing that, yes, now he realizes that Tesla is more than just a car company. So, really, what happens in the future on Tesla, we don't really know. And then Tesla will be added to the index on December 21st, and we'll find out. And then she writes in here as a little punch for the short sellers. Believe it or not, there is still people actually taking a short position in Tesla as it approaches S&P 500 inclusion. I think that is one losing bet. What do you think? Let me know in your comments down below. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Tesla Today.